Hello everyone, welcome to another Hero Cantare video. Today I'll be going over the S tier and A tier Noblesse units like I promised. Before we start the video, I would like to note I haven't read Noblesse yet, so if I do pronounce their names wrong, I do apologize in advance. And I don't own these units, so what I'm going to do is provide some feedback on what they can potentially be used for. And third, if you guys haven't checked out my SS tier Noblesse units video, then I do recommend you guys to check that out. But yeah, other than that, let's go ahead with the video. Alright, so starting off with M-21, he is a damage dealer, as you guys can see, so let's just look at his skills. Chain 1 deals 115% damage to one enemy in the back row, and applies a bleed effect for 2 turns with a 80% probability, so a pretty simple skill. Chain 2 deals 120% damage to all enemies in the back row, and if the enemy has a debuff, deals extra 55% damage. So you guys have a potential to do 175% damage to the enemies in the back row. So very nice. Chain 3 deals 160% damage to all enemies. The less enemies there are in the battlefield, deals extra damage that can go up to 100%. So again, a lot of damage, I guess, but Chain 3, you guys won't be using it too often. Passive 1, attack is increased by 15%. HP is increased by 15%, so pretty simple passive 1. Passive 2, his attack can increase up to 50% the less HP he has, and when he is hit, his attack is increased by 30% for 2 turns. So yeah, as you guys can see, his build is just damage, 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 and just damage. So personally, I think he's okay. I mean, I wouldn't use him because there are better damage dealers that doesn't require you to only hit people in the back row or just hit one person at a time or things like that. His kit just seems a little bit too simple for me, and I would just prefer to use like Jaichung Deshang or Max Level Warrior or Holy Warrior Mira. She has a pretty good AoE, so yeah, I mean, but for an S tier unit, he's okay. So yeah, that was M-21. And next up we have Frankenstein. So Frankenstein, he's pretty unique. I think his kit is pretty cool. Chain 1 deals 115% damage to one enemy in the back, can apply a pollution effect for 2 turns with a 80% probability. So pollution effect is basically, based on the description in the Korean version, which is a little bit vague, damage affected by a debuff is increased up to 100%. So yeah, it just says weakening effect, and I translated that as debuff. And I'm assuming they're referring to sustained damage, like burn, poison, and bleed effects. So originally those do 30% of your character's power, and pollution effect, I think it's times that by 2, so 60% damage to the enemy with your sustained damage debuffs. So yeah, pretty nice. I think that's pretty unique. If my translations are right, I'm pretty sure that is how pollution effects work. Chain 2 deals 210% damage to one enemy with the highest HP, and for 2 turns applies a poison effect. If the enemy already has a poison effect, stuns them for 1 turn. So very nice. That's a lot of damage. Chain 3 deals 135% damage to all enemies and reduces the enemy's attack by 30% for 2 turns. If the enemy has a debuff, deals extra 40% damage. Yeah, this Chain 3 is okay. The enemies, reducing the enemy's attack by 30% is always nice. But then again, his Chain 1 and Chain 2 seems to be more useful and more unique. So there you go. Passive 1, attack is increased by 10%, HP is increased by 10%, and critical hit rate is increased by 10%. So very nice. Passive 2, when hit, attack is increased by 10% up to 50%. When he hits a critical attack, applies a poison effect to the enemy for 2 turns. So again, very nice, more damage potential, especially when you take advantage of that Chain 1. So yeah, there you go. That is Frankenstein. I think his kit is pretty unique. I don't know the content he would be used for. Probably advent bosses, applying those sustained damage effects and trying to deal as much damage as you guys can. And yeah, that was Frankenstein. Okay, next up we have Rosaria. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Sheesh, she's creepy, bro. Yeah, let's just look at her skills. Chain 1 deals 130% damage to one enemy, provides a 30% attack buff to one ally with the highest attack. Huh. This seems like a worse version of Kun. Kun's Chain 1. So, I mean, sure, okay. Chain 2 deals 110% damage to all enemies and reduces the critical damage by 20% to enemies with a buff. So they have to have a buff for this to activate. Chain 3 deals 120% damage to all enemies, deals extra 40% damage to one enemy with the highest attack, and silence them for 2 turns. Okay, fix me if I'm wrong, but um is silence heal disable? I think it is. Like, please fix me if I'm wrong though. But yeah, there you go. Chain 1, 2, 3. Mostly useless in my opinion. Passive 1, attack is increased by 10%, HP is increased by 10%, critical hit rate is increased by 10%. Passive 2, when she is killed, revives one ally to 50% HP and provides a damage immunity for 1 turn. See, yeah, damage immunity for 1 turn. That's pretty nice. But Rosaria cannot revive herself. Okay, so, the problem with this, I feel like, is this character is probably going to get killed first. So her passive 2 is kind of useless. And I feel like Kun's passive 2 is much better than this. Even if this provides a damage immunity, I would rather have Kun's, because Kun can revive himself and he can revive a ally. So yeah, I mean, a little bit disappointing, just a little bit disappointing, but it is an S tier, so I guess it is what it is. Yeah, there you go. That was Rosaria. All right, next up we have Moussaka. So he's a pretty good unit. I do see him quite often in the ranking system. I've seen a lot of people S tier this guy because of his kit is really nice. So let's just look at his chain skills. Chain 1 deals 105% damage to 2 enemies in the back row and heals 15% of the damage dealt. So very nice. And guarantees a counter attack for the upcoming hit. So if you guys don't remember, counterattack is automatically assigned as your chain 1. So he'll when he counters, he's going to attack 2 enemies in the back row and he's going to heal again. So very nice. Chain 2 deals 130% damage to all enemies, ignoring defense. The less enemies there are in the battlefield, his damage can increase up to 80%. So yeah, that's pretty good. He ignores defense, and the less enemies there are, the more damage he does. And remember, this is the stat when he is in S tier. If he's in SS or SSS, then his damage will definitely improve a lot. So yeah, that's his chain 2. Chain 3 deals 200% damage to one enemy with the highest attack and deals extra damage based on the 35% of his maximum HP and seals them for 1 turn. Okay, so I don't really remember what seals do. I know for a fact that Lee Soo-jin has that. If you guys do know what seals do, then please let me know in the comment section. But yeah, moving on. Passive 1, attack is increased by 15%, HP is increased by 50%, and damage reduction is increased by 10%. So very tanky and more attack for Moussaka. So passive 2, if the user have a debuff at the end of the turn, removes 1 debuff and heals all allies HP by 10%, and the user is provided with a damage immunity for 1 turn. Like, that's really good. But do note that this only activates when he has a debuff, and this activates at the end of the turn, so do watch that out. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people use him in the Korean version. SSS tier this guy because of his kit is very useful for arena, I think. But yeah, that was Moussaka. Finally, we have Raizel, the only A tier Noblesse unit that is available on Hero Cantare, and he is going to be the final unit that we'll go over today. So, Chain 1 deals 150% damage to one enemy and reduces their attack by 30% with a 65% probability. So pretty nice. Chain 2 deals 110% damage to all enemies and increases the enemy's debuff turn by 1. I'm pretty sure this is why this unit is worth investing in. I've seen some Korean players actually invest him up to SS tier or even SSS tier because of his chain 2, increasing the enemy's debuff turn by 1. So just imagine, let's say you stunned your enemies and you use his chain 2 and you extend that by another turn, and after that you use his chain 2 again, so you infinitely stun your enemies, so they can't really do anything to you unless you run out of your chain skills. But yeah, pretty nice unit. Chain 3 deals 110% damage to all enemies and silence them for 1 turn. Provides a barrier for all allies based on 40% of their HP. So this is pretty nice as well, but you'll be using this unit mostly for his chain 2. Passive 1, attack is increased by 10%, HP is increased by 20%. So pretty simple passive 1 skill because he is a tier unit, but HP increased by 20% is pretty nice. Passive 2 seals attack for the enemy with the highest attack when the battle begins. So yeah, I really don't know what seals do, but this description in the Korean version does say that he seals the enemy's attack. So I'm assuming he's preventing them from attacking, like the description says. But I'm not really too sure about this. So if you guys do know what seals really do, then please let me know in the comment section. But yeah, that is pretty much it for Raizel, and let's just go over all the units. Alright, so that was pretty much it for all the S and A tier units for Noblesse. If you guys do want a quick recap, M-21, he's a damage dealer. Frankenstein, he has the ability to pollute, which is pretty nice. And Rosaria, she provides a buff for her allies in a unique way. And it's really not worth investing in, honestly. She's basically for collection. And Moussaka has the ability to counter, heal all allies, and remove a debuff and gain a damaged immunity, which is always nice for PvP. And lastly, we have Raizel, who has a chain 2 ability that can extend the enemy's debuff, which can create a lot of opportunities for his team. And yeah, that was pretty much it. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and bye bye.